Hello, it's Mrs. Morrison again, and it's project time. This time we'll be doing something called the Career Project. The Career Project has three parts, and guess what? You've already done the first part. Remember way back at the beginning of the semester where you wrote Career Journal 1? And you talked about a field or a job that you would like to consider for your future. And you wrote 5 questions, questions that you wrote to learn more information about that career. Well, that was part 1. Part 2 is writing something called an annotated bibliography related to your career field. And then the third part is Career Journal 2, where you write about what you've learned or found out about your career through the process. So, as we begin this project, I'd like to sort of go to the end product. In other words, before we look at all the preparation and the instructions, let's take a look at what an annotated bibliography looks like when it's done. I'm going to open up this sample annotated bibliography. One of my students wrote this bibliography for the field of optical science. I thought optical science had something to do with optometry and making glasses, but in fact, it has to do with physics, and optical science has to do with astronomy and making telescopes. And it's a field of engineering, actually. So my student gathered together a bunch of sources that would be useful to her in her career as an optical scientist, but also useful as she finished out her last years of college training for that profession. And your annotated bibliography gathers 6 different kinds of sources. The very first kind of source is what we call a specialized reference work. So in order to know what that is, you have to understand that a reference work is an encyclopedia or a dictionary. There are general encyclopedias and dictionaries like dictionary.com or Merriam-Webster Dictionary or the World Book Encyclopedia. But those are not the kinds of reference works we'll be using for this bibliography. Instead, we're going to be using specialized reference works. Specialized reference works are dictionaries or encyclopedias made for a specific career or career field. So my student found the dictionary for engineering, and here she's made an APA citation for the dictionary, followed by what we call an annotation, or in other words, words explaining the specialized reference work. The second entry, she found a scholarly journal article. So what's a scholarly journal? Well, it's like a magazine, but instead of being a general interest magazine like Time or Newsweek, it's a magazine for people who are in a specific profession. There are journals for education, journals for psychology, journals for medicine, and so on. She found a scholarly journal for optical engineering, her field, and within that scholarly journal, she picked one article to read. And that's this one, the All Optical Wavelength Conversion, etc., etc. That was the name of the article. She wrote an APA citation, and then she added an annotation, or in other words, words about that particular citation. For entry number 3, she found a career resource. A career resource is often we use the Occupational Outlook Handbook, although there are other types of career resources. They present research on different careers or jobs and how much they're currently paying, where they're currently hiring for the job, what kinds of skills and personality traits are needed for the job. And she found out information about the optical scientists under the category of physicists and astronomers in the Occupational Outlook. And in her annotation, she summarizes the information she found out. For entry number 4, she's found a website of a professional organization. Now, that's not just any website that you go on Google and you put in optical science and see what comes up. She has to look specifically for a group of people, and they've made a sort of a club, but instead of a club for antique autos or a club for comic collecting, it's a club for people who have similar jobs. And you usually pay dues for those clubs. Then they have all kinds of professional resources you can access. They have conferences and so on. And there's professional organizations that are related to almost every career. And she found a professional organization called SPIE, the International Society of Optics and Photonics. And she wrote an APA citation for that website, for the organization's website, and she wrote an annotation about it. Entry number 5 is a video lecture. That's where you go to Khan Academy or some other source where professors or experts in the field lecture about something related to your career. And she found a lecture about reflection, specular and diffuse reflection. And she has written an APA citation. She's watched the lecture, and she's written an annotation, which is a summary of the information she learned in that lecture. Entry number 6 is a reliable website. Now here, it can be a general website. It's not going to be the same thing as the professional organization website. It's going to be some other website related to your career field. And the only limitation is that it needs to be reliable. And when we did lateral reading, we learned to determine how a website can be found to be reliable. It needs to be written by experts. And the one that she found is the University of Arizona College of Optical Sciences website. And then she has an annotation about that website. And that is an example of an annotated bibliography for a specific career field. So now that you've seen that end product, what does an annotated bibliography look like? Let's back up a little bit. So first, to complete the project, you should read the introduction and read through what to do to prepare. Next are step-by-step instructions. If a minute ago you were thinking, my gosh, how am I going to find those sources? I know how to find websites, but what about all the other things? Well, worry not. Here are specific directions, and there's even a research guide at our library to assist you. If you open this up, you'll see that you can find your specialized reference work by clicking here, your scholarly or professional journal article clicking here, your career resource here, and so on. So you're not on your own. It's all the resources you need to guide you through the project are here for you right on this link. And not only do you have links to where you can find the sources, but here are step-by-step instructions for how to annotate each type of work, each type of reference with instructions for the annotation. Now, you may know what APA citation is, or you may not. It's kind of like MLA. It's just the kind of citation that's used for the STEM fields instead of for the humanity fields. And on that library link that I showed you, there is information on how to cite sources in APA format. So as you work through the different steps of the module, you will find APA citation information. And here are some helpful tips that will make sure that you're successful with the project. Read the directions carefully, use the link to the library research guide, and read the feedback and correction on your rough drafts of the annotated bibliography before you make your final draft. Then after you finish your final draft of the annotated bibliography, the last step of the career project is to complete your career journal too. And there's a little opportunity for extra credit if you want some as well. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, and it is, but I assure you that if you just work through step by step, start with the first page, move to the second, it's really carefully designed so that students will be successful. And I think you'll be amazed at how much you learn. And of course, if you're having any difficulty at all, you can always reach out to me through email, and I'll be happy to help you. So that's it for now. Enjoy the career project.